Hi. We're back. This is Courtney Haley with 10th Studio. I'm here with Pam Locatell from Sage, and we're here on all things MoCRA once again. And before we get to today's questions, I just want to walk you through a few updates. We've got updated guidelines we're dropping into my website. We will be constantly updating them as we learn more from the FDA, as they roll out more information to us. You can always reach us at courtney.haley@10thstudio.com or regulatory@10thgroup.com if you have any questions, or if you want to go into further detail, because we're going to try our very best to keep these videos super short. And we have a lot of free stuff on the website. So we'll have the guidelines, we have these videos, we have a lot of helpful links to everything. We're going to start going through those in details in separate emails. So go check out the website, which is 10thstudio.com, and that has a lot of helpful things for you. And before we just go to the next question, I just want to remind everyone that we're here to help. So there's two services that we can offer you. We can either come in and train your team to do the product listings or all the requirements that you need to do by December 2023. And then we take a step back and your team actually does it themselves, or we can step in and do all of that for you. So however we can help your team, we are here for you. Yeah. Okay, so the next question is adverse events. So let's just talk about the definition of a serious adverse event, because I think we need to clarify to everyone how the FDA is going to define this, what should they be doing, and then I think we can circle back in the very end what your consumer might be doing separately, or we can actually handle that maybe in a separate video. So I try to keep these super short because I'm super chatty, but let's start with serious adverse events. How does the FDA define that?
Okay, so first of all, the adverse events is a requirement of the brand, of the name on the label. And so there's two, I'm going to give you two definitions, one for adverse event, another for serious adverse event, so you can see the difference. An adverse event is any health-related event associated with the use of a cosmetic product that is adverse. And that's pretty generic, okay? But the FDA has been very good about giving us a much more definitive definition of a serious adverse event. But please, the one thing I want to point out is it's not the same as a drug serious adverse event, which has already been defined by FDA several years ago, and a reporting system is already in place for those. It expands that definition on to add more criteria. So a serious adverse event is an adverse event. Oh, and we call these S as in Sam, A as in Albert, E as in Edward, SAEs. And a serious adverse event is an adverse event that results in or requires medical intervention to prevent it. And it's death. It could be death, a life-threatening experience, inpatient hospitalization, a persistent or significant disability or incapacity, a congenital anomaly or birth defect, an infection, or a significant disfigurement, including serious and persistent rashes or infections, second or third degree burns. Remember the burns, scalp burns from a hair care product?
Yep. Okay.
A few years ago. Significant hair loss. There's a product that went through that as a hair product a few years ago also, or persistent or significant alteration of appearance. Yes, that's a lot of words. Other than as intended under conditions of use that are customary or usual. Okay. So the last sections have been added. FDA has added more criteria to it. The key here is that sometimes it's difficult to tell the difference between a serious adverse event and an adverse event. And you may need to have a medical opinion or someone with with experience in evaluating these. So it may not be something that you can do in-house. And that's something to keep in mind. It's only the serious adverse events that need to be reported to FDA, and that's within 15 days of you receiving the complete report.
Okay.
And be careful, because I was reading online today another a summary of MoCRA by a firm, and they didn't call out. They called out all this information. They called out all this information, and they called it an adverse event. But there is a difference. There's a difference between an adverse event and a serious adverse event. It's the serious adverse event that needs to be reported to FDA in 15 days. Now, ask me how we're going to do that.
How are we going to do that?
That is going to be via MedWatch. And that's what the...
Before you go into MedWatch, because I want to keep that as a separate video. So we'll go into MedWatch. So before we go into that, I just want to touch on two things. I think it's really interesting that reputable firms are giving misinformation on MoCRA, because I think it just shows how confusing it is to everyone that even has expertise in this type of subject matter, that it is confusing. It is going to take some time. So that's what we're here to help, to walk you through. And you don't have to read the bill that went through Congress. I think it was at 4,000 pages. We're here to kind of interpret it for you. And I think the other good point you made is, if you have someone consulting on MoCRA for you, they should be able, and they're your consultant, they're taking a deep dive into your products, they know your company infrastructure, they should be able to advise whether they can determine that your adverse effect is serious, or whether you need a physician to sign off on determining whether it's serious, and document that process. Because I think what we both want to make clear in this process is that when it comes to working with the FDA, you really want to show that you are trying your best to adhere to the rules and regulations, that you're not just not following them, that you're trying to determine what is the next step.